Is the corporate practice of psychology legal in Minnesota? That's the question I'm going to answer today. I'm Aaron Hall, a business attorney in Minnesota. You can learn more at aaronhall.com, and please see the disclaimer below. Well, the corporate practice of psychology, what is that? Essentially, it's when a corporation owns a psychology clinic. In other words, the psychology clinic is not owned by a licensed psychologist, but instead is owned by a non-licensed individual or corporate entity. The bottom line is a Minnesota psychology clinic must be owned by a licensed psychologist. A psychology clinic cannot be owned by a corporation or non-licensed individual. Now, there are circumstances where professionals with various licenses can own a clinic offering various services. But you cannot have non-licensed individuals or investors, for example, owning a psychology clinic in Minnesota. Here's why. The Minnesota has what's called the Professional Firms Act. And the Minnesota Board of Psychology has taken the position that anyone who owns a psychology clinic and has an entity, a corporation or an LLC, must opt in to the Professional Firms Act. And that requires ownership by a licensed psychologist. So in Minnesota, if you want to have a LLC or corporation for your psychology clinic, it needs to be owned by a licensed psychologist, at least in part. You could have some other license holders as well. And it needs to elect to be governed under the Professional Firms Act. Now, you might say to yourself, the Professional Firms Act seems to give some wiggle room and says that you can opt in, that you don't have to opt in. And that's true, but the Minnesota Board of Psychology has taken the position that you must opt in if your LLC or corporation are providing services that require a license in the area of psychology. This has yet to be challenged in the courts. It's possible it could be challenged and that the Board of Psychology would lose. But at least as it stands right now, if you don't want to be dealing with conflict with the Minnesota Board of Psychology, a psychology clinic must be owned, at least in part, by a licensed psychologist. To learn more about the Professional Firms Act and as it relates to psychologists, check out aaronhall.com or see the link in the description below. I'm Aaron Hall. Thanks for joining today. This page has other information on this topic and other videos that relate. See the description below.